everyone, this is Cyana with BCS News. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today we have a special guest, Meghan, who's going to tell us about this deadly disease.
Hello, Cyana, and thank you for having me on this morning. I'm very grateful that I can be here to spread awareness on this deadly disease, cystic fibrosis.
Yes, we're really grateful to have you on our show this morning. Please tell us a little bit more about this deadly disease, cystic fibrosis.
Well, let's first start off with the overview of the disease. This disorder, cystic fibrosis, causes severe damage to your lungs and the digestive system, but not just those, other organs in the body. Cystic fibrosis also affects the cells that produce mucus, which affects the saliva.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, when do people get this disease?
Well, normally it is, it's a genetic mutation, so you're born with it, and many people are diagnosed around 8 months when they're born,
Okay.
but many people don't start getting symptoms until they're
Later on. Yeah. Okay. Has there anyone been diagnosed with it when they're around 20?
It's very rare, but it could happen. They don't start to get symptoms until that age.
What would you say their lifespan is until they're born?
Well,
they're born too.
Sadly, the lifespan is not too long. It's around 50 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's sad. How can you prevent this from happening? Is it because the person who you are married to and you're about to have the kid, is that person the one responsibility to give off the cystic fibrosis in the DNA, or is it something else that reoccurs?
Well, it's not their fault. It's but parents should both go get a blood test if they have someone in the family that has cystic fibrosis, so they can see if their child that they're about to have could have cystic fibrosis, and if they're already if the wife is already pregnant, there is a risk of them having cystic fibrosis, so they should always get a test done.
Okay. Hear that, guys? Get tests. Who is most affected, do you think, with this disease? The parents, the grandparents, the child itself that is diagnosed?
Mentally, probably the parents, and also to see your kids suffer, but health-wise, it's very hard for the kids because it's hard to breathe. Some of the symptoms is a persistent cough that produces thick mucus called sputum, and wheezing, breathlessness, exercise intolerance. So if you exercise, you can't exercise a lot because then you can't breathe as much because your lungs are clogged with the mucus, and repeated lung infections and inflamed nasal passages or stuffy nose. So if you have most of these symptoms, you should probably get it checked out. Also, if you have someone in the family, you should get your blood tested.
Okay. Now, if a person is diagnosed with this disease, do you think they'll be able to do sports? If so, what type of sports?
There aren't many sports that, they could do sports, but it would probably be very hard for them because of how hard it would be to breathe and then so much coughing. But you can exercise on the elliptical or walking fast. You can run a little bit, but just not for a long time.
What are some causes about this deadly disease?
Well, in cystic fibrosis, it is a defect, also known as a mutation. In a gene changes a protein that regulates the movement of salt in and out of cells. They result in thick, sticky mucus being stuck in the lungs, the respiratory system, the digestive system, reproductive system, and when you sweat, it's a lot of salt in your sweat, which most people with cystic fibrosis, their salt doesn't have as much sweat. So, such as if your parent, if someone kisses you, you can taste the salt, and it's very sad. It also comes out a lot when you work out because of the sweat that you produce.
Okay.
Also, the cause is many different defects can occur in the gene. The type of gene mutation is also associated with the severity of the condition. So not everybody has the same, like some people have it worse, some people it's not too bad, but it's still very sad. And to happen, the children need to inherit one copy of the gene from each parent in order to have the disease. So if children inherit only one copy, they won't develop cystic fibrosis. However, if both of the parents carry this, it's possible that they could pass the gene of cystic fibrosis to their kids.
Okay. The body are affected.
The parts of the body that are affected would probably be the respiratory system, the digestive system, and the lungs. But there are many other organs that it does affect.
Okay. What are some complications in the respiratory system?
Well, there are many complications that the respiratory system and the digestive system both have. For the respiratory, it's probably damaged airways, chronic infections. The chronic infections is from the thick, sticky mucus in the lungs and the sinus, and growths in nose, and coughing up blood, which is called hemoptysis, and I don't even know how. Okay, I'm done. And also respiratory failure.
Okay. What would you say is the most important part of the body that gets damaged from this disease, cystic fibrosis?
From this disease, I would probably have to say the lungs, because with damaged lungs, it's very hard to breathe, and it's very hard to breathe without clean lungs with no sticky mucus in them.
Okay. Now, do they take any medicines daily? How does that work?
They take many medicines, which, like more than 50 a day and night, and in the middle of the day.
What are some digestive system complications, would you say?
Well, there's not as much complications in the digestive system as the respiratory system, but there are still complications such as diabetes, blocked bile duct, and intestinal obstruction, and nutritional defections. But diabetes is a big problem, because many people with cystic fibrosis do develop diabetes because of the pancreas producing insulin, which your body needs to produce sugar. So cystic fibrosis increases the risk of diabetes. Around 30% of people with cystic fibrosis develop diabetes at the age of 30.
Some other complications you would say?
Other complications would be probably the thinning of the bones. So people with cystic fibrosis have a higher risk of developing a dangerous thinning of the bones, and electrical imbalances and dehydration because of how much, when they sweat, how much salt they produce in their skin, and so their sweat is a lot saltier, and the balance of minerals in their blood may be upset. So some of the symptoms of that is increased heart rate, fatigue, weakness, and
this deadly disease after this break. And welcome back to BCS News with Cyana Berner and Dr. Chawan.
Edit this. Okay, so I'm gonna be like, this is my lab. You can take a seat over here. Wait, no, that's what I'm gonna do. It's not sorry. Okay, so let's open the. Wait, I want food. This is our food. Okay. Okay. So, wait, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Okay, wait. Okay. Okay, we can smile. This is fun. Like, this is your first time in my. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. So this is my lab. You can take a seat over here.
Okay.
We have collected sweat from a cystic fibrosis patient to look at the salt molecules in this person. So right now I'm gonna set it up. some, and you can check it out.
Oh wow, that's crazy. You can definitely see the salt molecules.
So we've always kind of said that.
Yeah. And we have different types of sweat collected from different people with non-cystic fibrosis and cystic fibrosis to compare.
Because there's too many things that
Okay.
This morning on BCS News to talk about this deadly disease called cystic fibrosis. I hope other people are aware of this disease.
Thank you for having me on today. I hope I have inspired people to and other doctors to start learning about this so we can finally find a lifelong cure. That's good, right?